BDO South Africa is a professional audit, tax, and advisory firm that's part of a global network of firms in over 160 countries. We have offices in 7 locations nationally with more than 2,400 qualified staff ready to assist our clients. Welcome to our Clarity Unscripted podcast. Here, you will find transparent content that's both insightful and unfiltered. No holds barred, just pure clarity.
Good day. Welcome to Clarity Unscripted. My name, Annemari Krugel, heading the Forensic Division in BDO. Jaco, today we've got the privilege of speaking to you. Jaco is the CEO of the South African chapter of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, the abbreviation that we usually use, the ACFE. And Jaco, it's a pleasure for me today to have a discussion with you, and I hope our members and our staff is going to learn more about the ACFE.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Annemari. Thanks very much to BDO as well. Yeah. I look forward to this session.
Thank you. Jaco, I think we must start. Let us hear about the ACFE. What do you do as an organization?
Well, the ACFE is an international body. We've got plus minus 95,000 members internationally. We are in the most of the countries through our members. We've got different levels of membership within the organization. So we've got your affiliates that's only for South Africa. Then we've got associate members, and then we've got CFEs, who I say is the top of the crop. You need to write international exams for that, but a little bit later about that. So as an organization, we not only set the standard. Let's quickly talk about that, what I mean by that. We sit on various international forums. So the ACFE International just released a document, Fraud Risk Management Tools, with COSO, for instance. So we sit at that level. I myself sit on the ISO committee, looking at standards with the SABS here in South Africa. We sit on the King 4 committee. So we sit on various international platforms, setting the benchmark and setting the standards throughout. Locally, we also set standards for South Africans who want to specialize in specific fields. Now, fraud is a very complex thing. It's not as easy as just one definition. Under fraud, just looking at internal frauds, there's about 57 scams that you can get, or schemes, where fraud occurs and how it occurs. So we look at the different specialization fields in order to detect it. Let's use cyber as an example, digital forensics, and we set standards there as well. As an organization, we ourselves get regulated. Well, not only by the ACFE International, but also by SAQA, South African Qualification Authority. We need to register as a professional body. We pay fees for that. We get audited every 2 years by SAQA. And then we make sure that we adhere to the rules set down for professional bodies in order to register professionals. As a professional body, I spoke about the internationals where we sit. We're very much involved in education and also creating a network. So I spoke about SAQA. We've got courses that's registered with SAQA on NQF levels. So we've got formal qualifications registered. But we also have workshops, and we are very much involved internationally and locally on training organizations, specialists, and others. So as an organization, we're involved there. And then we also negotiate reduced costs on tools. Our members need to do what they do best: fight fraud, prevent, detect, and investigate. So we negotiate discounted tools on certain products. And in doing so, we open up possibilities for our members to identify fraud quicker. Also, make sure that whatever information they gather, they can really go out and base their findings upon that, so that we can have a higher success rate in court, which I'm pleased to say we're seeing more and more cases coming forward where that happens.
Jaco, there's a few things that I would like you to explain to us further. I think one of one of the crucial matters here is, where do you see this development of the organization the past few years? I looked at your background as a CFE. You've been a CFE yourself. You've been the CEO for years now. Tell us about the development of the ACFE. How did it develop over the past few years?
Well, it started off in 1997 when government wanted to regulate our profession. They wanted to regulate that together with the security officers. And big organizations like your banks, your insurance companies, as well as the audit firms came forward and said, it's a specialized field. We cannot be regulated like security guards. The government indicated that, all right, if that's the case, you need to regulate yourselves then, and you need to find a body that can do this and that can set standards. So at that stage, the ESCOMs, the functioning ESCOMs, and some of the others, I know the Big Four was very much involved, went internationally and they looked for a model that would work. And they started off the ACFE in South Africa. I came on board in 2008, was interviewed November 2007, was the first appointed CEO in 2008, January 1st. And I still remember when we were 40 people attending AGMs and going to our gala event. At that stage, it wasn't called a gala event, it was a late afternoon dinner, and we went all to Brooklyn to have that. We had 800 members a year later, and we're now sitting on our database with 14,500 people. So it shows you the growth over this time period. But not only in South Africa. It came to a point where other African countries came to us and say, listen, we either had or we want chapters, but we want you to administer it and make sure it's a thing that will work. So at this stage, we are a success story in saying that we look after 8 other African countries and their chapters. We're the first chapter in the world to have registered a learnership for our profession. None other has got that in the world. We even helped other chapters in Europe, like France, to register the learnership in that country. We're the first in many ways. We were the first to register our profession. I'm not talking about CFE, I'm talking of fraud examiners. Before us, yes, there was the terminology, I'm a forensic accountant, I'm a forensic auditor, I'm a forensic investigator, but it was never formally registered in our country. We did that. Yeah. So there's a lot of success stories about the chapter, and it talks about the growth as well as an organization.
And your members, Jaco, where do you focus? Who's your members? Who do you bring to the table? I mean, it's amazing to say that there's 14,500 members. We can think it's forensic investigators. BDO is a corporate member of the organization, and now for years. I mean, I myself as a CFE. So who do you find? Who's open to become your members?
So I'm very thankful for courts and court cases. Now, a long time ago, the FBI started it in America, and it was for financial investigators doing the investigations. But then court cases came forward and they said, where were the external auditors? Where were the internal auditors? Where were the risk managers? Where were the compliance officers? Where were the ethics officers?
Yes.
And this whole thing of fighting fraud and detecting fraud and also highlighting fraud. I know the universities like to date and go back to cases like Enron. But now recently we had the Volkswagen scandals, we had the VBS, we had the African Bank, we had so we've got a lot of scandals ourselves. So courts and the public are asking more questions. So because of that, we've seen a huge growth, not only within the investigating environment, we started seeing in the internal audit, your accounting, your investigators, yes, your academics. We've seen growth in risk management, compliance, ethics. So prosecution, it was a boom. Another court case that stands out for me, quickly thinking about it, was O'Garinel and the Oscar Pistorius case. Yes. asking the question, who and what's an expert? So if you look at court cases like,
Yes.
one of the court cases that stands out for me in South Africa was Gary Nell's Oscar Pretoria case.
Yes.
So in that case, Gary Nell specifically asked both on both sides the question: are you an expert? What makes you an expert?
Yes.
And qualifications and years of experience was not enough. You had to keep to your field of expertise.
Yes.
That was very clear from that court case. And in our environment, it is exactly the same. Our members are multidisciplinary. So when you, and I'm going to use you now as an example, when you come in as a forensic investigator, you've got your legal background. Maybe it's not a good example because I don't know you so well. But when we talk about cyber investigations, I'm not sure whether you can do imaging of a computer. There, you need to bring in the necessary expertise to come and assist you as a team during
Yes.
this whole thing.
Yes.
So when you talk about our members are really multidisciplinary. And that's why you don't bind members only in certain categories.
Yes.
You can't say that a CFE must only be involved in the forensic investigation department because his expertise gives him the opportunity or her the opportunity to be involved at all levels. Either from board, giving direction on what questions to ask on financials, or what the risks might be and where to go and have a look.
Yes.
Or if I use insurance now, where I had a run through in my earlier years, they are involved in with your actuaries to look at what products should be brought to the table to the benefit of the organization and where it should be sold. What's happening in claims departments? What's happening with finances? What's happening internally in your procurement departments? So you've got an individual here that can give you a good idea of what's happening all over.
Yes.
By holding that person in one small blocky or silo, it's actually to your own detriment. So when an audit firm like you come in, and I as a CEO tries to limit you from doing and looking at certain things, number one, that should be a red flag for you.
Yes.
But already, it should also talk to the ability of the CEO and his understanding of what the expectations is and what the expectations can be from an expert like yourself.
Yeah.
I need to open it up so that you can go and look everywhere and really come forward with a document, a report that can highlight all the irregularities, can bring back to me proposals, because an expert not only highlights the mischief, they also say what you need to put in place to protect.
Yes.
That's a real expert. And this brings the whole picture together. And that's why our membership consists out of cyber experts, science. And when I say science, people won't know, but for instance, your forensic document examiner sits with us. Polygraphists sits with us. We wrote standards for them. So think of a company, think of a occupation. Our members will be able to go into that organization and really save money for yourselves.
Jaco, what I understand then from you is obviously the members comes from corporate. The members will come from public sector, because there's a need in public sector to upskill our people. There's a need in corporate to upskill our people. Will you agree with me on that?
And you've got your individual members out there.
Yes.
Yes. So we've got, just thinking quickly of our corporate members. Think of the banking sector, think of the insurance sector, think of the telecommunications sector, think of the mining sector. You will find in most of these, if not all of these sectors, CFEs. Doing the good work that's expected of them to create a better environment for us all. And then we've got the outside consultants like yourselves that needs to go out and fight the fight and identify the irregularities, protect the organization, but also the investors and the shareholders, and indirectly also the general public out there.
Jaco, I think one of the things that BDO obviously stands for in the forensic environment is to assist our clients to look after assets, to look after their good reputation. And I think that is also something that is close to the goals of the ACFE. If you want to help your clients to create a standard. Will you say that your organization up till now was successful in creating new standards? You mentioned now forensic accounting. There might be legal people involved. There might be auditors. We're an auditing firm as well. Can you elaborate on that for us?
So the ACFE is an international organization. So any standard that we release is international. Let's talk about the forensic accounting that was released now 2 months ago, which is the newest one. We really went out there to look internationally, how do we protect the general public again, because that's our main goal, first public, members, and then the rest. And we had to see that, previously it was updated in 2014 internationally, last. That's outdated. The schemes and scams change daily. People really think of new techniques. They've got the time to do that. We need time to just get by our work. So what we do is then we go internationally and see who can we involve in writing these standards. So the forensic accountant, who's also a critical listed skill set in South Africa, can know that this is what I need to be classified as a forensic accountant, and this is what the minimum standards is for me to be able to do and know in order to sit within that field. We involved not only regulators, but we also involved professional bodies like your SICAS, your SIPAS, SIGAS. We involved PAFA, FCPA, and many other international organizations in writing these standards. Because we don't believe in a local is lekker thing. It's easy to write a standard.
Yes.
It's easy to write a standard that suits me.
Yes.
But it's not as easy to write a standard that's generic, that will deal with all parties equally, but also ensure that we meet international expectations. You work for BDO Forensics. You're the head of that organization. When you talk about money laundering, do we talk about money just flowing between Limpopo and Mpumalanga or Cape Town? No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Across border.
Yes.
So immediately we talk about international relations. We talk about various things that talks to international jurisdictions. And you need to be able to understand and know what to do, where to do, and how to do. You can only do that if you meet international standards and you have international background. So when we partner with entities that works internationally, that sets international standards, and whose members abide by international rules. I get a lot the question, why didn't we bring in this entity or Tom, Dick and Harry and this whole thing? Because they don't meet the standard.
Yes.
And it's not the ACFE that sets the standard solely. It's other entities that sit on that international platforms with us that say this is what the standard should be. And they promote it in the accounting fields as well.
Jaco, I would like you to speak to our young people as well. I mean, you're very passionate about the training of people, the training of young people, especially being an audit firm. I often get, trainees that approach me and say, Annemari, I would like to have some forensic experience. I would like, what does it entail? What do you do as an organization for the youth?
So our conference is coming up, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I had to look at the statistics for my integrated report as well as for my speech. And I was shocked seeing today that our numbers in people retiring more than doubled on our list this year.
Yes.
So if you look at what we sit with currently, the people that we sit with that needs to protect our country, we sit with people that usually that seemingly is aged 30 plus. I almost want to say 40 plus, but 30 years and older.
It's about my age, Jaco.
Yes.
30 plus.
I'm getting there next year.
Yes.
So the question is, what do we do to ensure continuation of the profession? And the youngsters coming through to take over what we've done and then continue in fighting the fight.
Yes.
Which is fraud. So what the ACFE is been doing is we're writing together with our academy now qualifications. NQF 5, 6, 7, 8 qualifications. We've already did the 5 and 6. 7 is done. So we're starting to create a career path for people that wants to get into this field. I spoke about the learnership program. So for you out there that wants to do learnerships, there is a learnership program available. All you need to do is contact our offices, and you can get the necessary documentation from us, and you can come to organizations like your BDOs or your banking institutions. You can hand them the documentation. It gives you the ability to negotiate a work. So the learnership gives you the ability, and as an employer, it gives you the ability as well to say, listen, I'll appoint you on a year contract, and I can get some of the money back from the SETAs. I can claim back tax for tax rebate, and I even can claim some of BE points on my BE scorecard. So there's a number of benefits that you as a potential employee can go to companies with the documentation and say, listen, I can actually save you money by appointing myself. So that's one of the things that we've also done over and above the qualifications that's available. Many of our members have started to open up to say, listen, come and job shadow us during school holidays. I know that there's a specific firm that in an IT environment that indicated that if there's any students that want to get some experience, see if it will work for them in the IT field, they will gladly get you to come and work for them for a week or two and see how it flows. Why are more and more people doing this? So if we talk about the cyber field, not many companies have the capacity to do their own cyber investigations. Quickly thinking on the top of my head, there's about 9 companies in South Africa doing this type of work. We need to create the opportunities, and we need to create more people to do this. If we talk about the forensic document examination, when we started in 2008 with the process, Jannie Bester was the chair of that still. At that stage, there was 67 companies or people being involved in forensic document examination. At this stage, I think there are 5 that really has the ability to do proper forensic investigations. Digital handwriting forensic investigation. So the question is, what are we going to do to get more youngsters in? We're creating more and more opportunities for them to shadow. We're creating more and more opportunities for them to use the learnership program. We've got the qualifications now for them to get into. And I want to say to each and every one out there looking that although you've done your CIA or your internal audit qualification, does not mean that you cannot specialize further into forensics. Because whether you're in the internal auditors, risk managers, compliance officers, there's always that field of specialization. And that's exactly why we wrote MOUs, or we signed MOUs with all these other professional bodies, because the public's got an expectation. If you say you're in risk management, you need to be able to be involved in fraud risk management.
Yes.
If you say that you're an internal auditor, the question is it the job of the external auditor to pick up fraud, or the internal auditor as well? The internal auditor, because he's working there each and every day. If we look at the statistics, 14% of fraud is being detected by external auditors.
Yes.
Only 14%. If we look at the internal audit, 16%. And that's a guy working each and every day for the company. Only 16%. You've got a bigger chance in getting, by accident, the fraud coming forward than by the people whose job is it to understand and analyze and find the fraud.
Yes.
So we need to push the numbers up. We need to create more opportunities, and we need to create the ability to deal with this. And that's why, lastly, the ACFE is also involved in the learnership programs of other entities like your SICAS and your SIPAS, where we've started the discussion of changing in SIGAS their curriculum, so that we bring forensic in there, so that we can also help people to get articles through those processes. So we are slowly but surely starting it. And I think I can say you're also a board member of the ACFE.
Yes.
So part of the board, you know that there's a drive to involve the youngsters.
Yes.
So there's also now going to be a drive to get the business sector involved in getting more people employed within the environment, so that they can get on-the-job training and training through us.
Jaco, I know that you're also very passionate about the fact that you would like to see people that are sitting on audit and risk committees, for instance, or on boards in the corporate environment. You would like to see them trained as CFEs, because we all know that there's specific training being provided to auditors, to accountants. Where do you see this? Because, I mean, your membership relevant to your representation on the King 4 committee will also give you insight on those that kind of requirement that there might be in the industry. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so in the past, if you look at King 3 and what King 3 stood for, it was the onus was on the internal auditors to detect,
Yes.
prevent and investigate fraud. And through proper, I wouldn't say education, but through proper consultation processes, we changed it in King 4.
Yes.
So that they can understand the need to have specialists involved at all levels. And you're quite right. You need to have the people asking the right places, the right questions. And why do you want that? Because that's the only way that you can really protect your organization. So King changed to say that fraud examiners are one of your assurance partners. And the question that we need to ask is, and maybe you can also ask that in your reports, is if you say that you're King compliant, where's your fraud examiners? Because it's one of the pillars that you need to have within your organization. If you don't have it, it's not to say that you're not compliant. Then the question needs to be, who on the team did you get as consultants to do the job then for you? Then you need to bring in that through a consultant base. Now BDO is a good example. Did they make use of you, for instance, in these audits to say, listen, all right, through the BDOs who's got CFEs like Annemari's, we did meet the criteria. The questions was asked, and we did address the questions, and still we found that we are compliant. That's the reason for it. Then it's fine. But you need to have skilled people do the job. Now, the president, current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, during his family gathering meetings, time and time again indicated the same thing. Corruption is rife. We need to address it. There's a shortage in skills, and we don't meet the standards. So the question that they then started asking afterwards, and I was part of the National Anti-Corruption Framework, putting it together. I assisted the minister with the planning of how it should run. And one of the things that they later on asked me is, how do professional bodies see we change the model through professionalization? If you don't have professionals working for your organization, how can you mitigate your risks? So you need CFEs, you need CIAs, you need risk managers, you need compliance officers, you need people in procurement department that belongs to SIPs.
Yes.
Your procurement professional body. You need SABPP members in HR offices.
Yes.
Because they can be held accountable. Not according to your internal policies and procedures, because again if you look at most of the fraud, yes, it's perpetrated by the normal employees, but if the losses is with the executives. So if the executives appoint the normal Tom, Dick and Harry just to do the job what they tell them to do, that's why they get rid of them, because then they can say, you committed the fraud, not me.
And they can replace them.
Replace them. But not through the internal policies and procedures written and approved by those executives, rather by what's the international standard, what's the professional standard for that individual doing the job. That's what we need to push, professionalization.
Thank you, Jaco. Very interesting. I would like actually you to tell us a bit more about Jaco. What is Jaco doing when Jaco is not at the ACFE?
Jaco camps, Jaco gets away, Jaco tries to get as far away from cell phone signal as possible.
And I think that is understandable if you see the pressure that is currently on all of us in this profession to ensure whatever cases we take on that is dealt with in a professional manner.
Yeah, the bad thing about it is we get to see what's happening to our members, we get to see how they target it, and that also, and they come to us and say, listen, how can we help? So, in Afrikaans it's called the spervuur. It's our members that's in the trenches.
Yes.
But indirectly, they bring us with them. They share their ideas, they share their concerns, and sometimes they also share that, listen, I've got one of the members that said that we're fighting the fight. We've been retrenched because of doing the right thing, exposing the executives. I don't have food on my table to eat at night because everything I've got is going into legal fees.
Procedures.
So we sit with those and we listen to those and we try to help those. And many people out there don't appreciate what the fraud fighters goes through. But when the successes come through, that's when it makes a difference. Unfortunately, not always. They will see that this is done by a CFE. They will only see the NPA got the following successes. We work together as a team. The NPA, DPCI, our members, where they all are, in public or private sector. We make a success and we make a difference. I want to encourage everyone, get involved in our environment, in our profession. Each day is different. That's what's exciting. Yes, it is difficult, but it gives you that satisfaction at the end of the day that you're making a difference for yourself, your family, your company, your friends, the country. And then Annemari, lastly as well, how we support the children and students getting more involved is that we've invited a number of universities and their students to come and attend the top students, to come and attend the ACFE conference that's running from the 13th till the 15th of September. Just something short about the conference. It's a conference that's going to look at various different topics, from green and how people misuse the opportunities and create fraud in the green environment, water, electricity, and so on. Also, what tools is available to fight fraud. Desktop tools, social media, procurement tools, and other tools that you can use to do proper investigations. And also mitigate your internal risks, being proactive. The ACFE is very much driven to have an 80-20 scenario. 80% proactive, 20% reactive. You always have reactive. But we want to limit the losses of organizations. So the conference is very important. It's a 3-day conference. It runs from the Wednesday till the Friday afternoon, about 2 o'clock. We've got various speakers. We even have journalists there coming to talk about what tools do they use and how do they go about finding all these stories, this nice juicy stories that we see in the media, sometimes even before the external and internal auditors and the forensic investigators see them. So we're going to get some information from them. But we also have sessions on how to protect yourself. We've seen a lot of times where our risk managers, internal auditors are targeted for doing doing good, and we say, how can we better protect them? So it's a 3-day conference dealing with finances, law, risk management, internal audit, accounting. We're going to talk about the forensic accounting standards, and we're going to have the regulator there talking about our newly released guidelines for our profession on POPI. So that guide is going to be discussed by the regulator herself. So we're very excited and we want to invite you to be part of the conference. If you haven't registered, www.acfesa.co.za. Go online, go and register, be part of it, come learn. The most important part, and I've said it earlier, you're as good as your network is. So the networking opportunity there is brilliant. You'll have access to 1,100 plus people from all over Africa, all over the globe actually. There's people from the US, Australia, Germany, Switzerland I've seen, but all over Africa as well. You'll be able to mingle with auditor generals. So top brass being there as well. Look forward to seeing you at our conference, 13 to 15 September.
Thank you, Jaco. I would like to say thank you for your time today, Jaco. This is Clarity Unscripted. Thank you to all the listeners. that joined us today. Jaco, thank you for your contribution. I would all of you like to go to the ACFE website. You will see winning stories there. You will see interesting information. Please contact me, Annemari Krugel, should you require any assistance, and we hope to see you soon.